Hello everyone, Zelleranth here, and today I want to take a look at the Ice team and what we can anticipate in the future regarding them. So at the start of the game, we have two Ice units available. The first one being Alada that you can get in the event for free, and you can get full dupes and get a full shotgun that she can utilize in the game. And then we also have on the limited banner, we have Suomi, which just about everybody should have. There's absolutely no reason to not pulver her. Best sustain in the game, and will continue to be one of the best sustains in the game for the foreseeable future, and makes the clearing content significantly easier. So just about everybody should pulver her. You should be able to get enough currency. If you haven't gotten her yet, you should be, as long as you do the content, get enough to guarantee her, and that is an absolute must. Now, we've already had videos kind of dedicated to them on the Ice side of things, so let's kind of look at the team as a whole by going ahead and look at what the other Ice units will be coming up here in the future. Alright, looking at the tier list on Pridewind, now I'm not really going to take into consideration whether they are on the tier list, but just what they actually are. These are the current Ice units that are available on the CN side. So we have Suomi that we currently have, the main sustain, the one you're going to pretty much always bring in an Ice team. If you're having a full Ice team because of what she's able to bring to them. Then we also have Alada down here. And then we have Macchiato, which will be coming out in the future, as well as Dushevnaya, or however you say her name. And so both of those units should be coming in the near future. And so we go ahead and take a look at the banner release order again from the CNN. Just remember these, it's completely unknown what we're going to be getting in the future. They can pretty much bring anyone in for us because they've said they're going to completely change it. So the big one is they brought out Macchiato, fifth one that came out on the CN side, and then right after Ulrid and Suomi, Dushevnaya came out on the Ice side of things. And so kind of my prediction, if they were to do an Ice team coming, like one of the Ice units coming next, I would suspect they would want to bring Macchiato out. And that's just because we already have Suomi that they gave us. If they want to try and get us to have to spend more pulls, potentially have to spend money when we ran out getting Suomi, they bring out Macchiato, which pairs extremely well with her just because of the buffs that Suomi has, as well as with her gun. Now we take a look at Macchiato, which I would say is going to be like your main damage dealing DPS. She works similar to some of the other units with the support action. The big thing with her, when we go take a look at her passive, now I'm not going to go through her entire kit, we're just kind of getting an idea of what they kind of do as a whole, what's the main thing of them. And with her, she's all about being above 80% of her health. She has the ability to put her own shield on herself through her ultimate. And that, along with Suomi, will make her extremely tanky with the shields. So above that, she gets insight and steady movement, so she can have that increased range. And then she also has a very high crit, and crit by default, but lower crit damage. And so one of the big things is you're going to want to build a lot of crit damage into her to kind of take advantage of her already having a naturally high crit. And then when you kind of look into her ultimate, puts on her own, when you run it, puts her own frost barrier out, as well as Overwatch. And Overwatch working similar to Jean-Ju's, where she reacts to your teammate attacking, except with Overwatch it's from an enemy attacking. And she can do that twice there and per turn. And I believe, yeah, you can increase this by getting upgrades into dupes. So if you get all the way to 6, she can do it 4 times. Now I'm not going to advise that or get 6 dupes, but there is a way to increase that through that. But then when it comes to her main, what I would consider the core skill of hers, what really gets her to do damage is going to be this one up here, this cold precision shot skill. Select an enemy target within 9 tile radius and deals ice damage equal to 160% attack to it. Increases crit damage of this attack by 30%. For each damage instance dealt, gain 1 stack of winning belief. And then when you look at what that is, increases attack by 10%. This effect can be stacked 3 times. So it's just a nice way to increase attack. And then that's how you're getting some of your crit damage back. But the biggest thing about her is that really ramps up her damage is if you do get a 1 dupe of her. And if you're wanting to go heavily into the Ice team, I would advise to get the 1 dupe of her. Now, if you're free to play, I mean, you're going to have to really plan around, especially if she comes next and you're not lucky. But it changes the skill, and it makes it where she can do single target damage that is comparable to Jean-Ju, which is a lot of people are going to compare her to when it comes to single target damage. and she's not as good as Jeonju when it comes to single target until you get her first dupe. But what this does on it is it takes that skill, it no longer increases the crit damage, but instead it does two instances of damage at 100% attack. The first damage, if the first one crits, the crit rate and crit damage of the second one is increased by 180% respectively. And so if you're building her around crit, that's going to be massive already in that, so you can pretty much guarantee these if you have a really strong crit. And that is a massive increase to crit damage. And if you've already built a lot of crit damage around her, it's going to be a significant damage there. Big thing is she won't be able to do her Overwatch if she loses her own shield. Now, it doesn't really state here, on this spreadsheet at least, if her shield counts as part, if you have Suomi's and then you apply her shield, do they have to break through Suomi's to be able to break hers? Or is it only just doing enough damage to her shield to break hers, but you might still have Suomi's? So I don't know how much this con on her is, but we'll kind of be able to figure that when she comes out. But if anyone in the CN side knows the answer, you can go ahead and put it in the comments, and I can pin it at the top if anyone wants to look at that. Then when we go to the other unit, Dushevnaya over here, this is the support ice unit that does a lot of the support side of things. Another sniper, and so I kind of think the whole thing they're having going with the ice is that a lot of them are about debuffing the enemy's movement capabilities with all their ice capabilities. So the way I view it is, since they're snipers, they're able to stay not only away from the enemies, but preventing them from getting close enough to potentially even attack them. And then you have like Lada and Suomi that can be up on the front to kind of keep them away from your snipers as well, which makes it work really well for a Macchiato, where she has her frost barrier. You don't want getting broke. If they're not able to get to her, they're not going to be able to break it. So another big thing with her is that she has a lot of buffs to the ice side of things. I think she has just a default within her passive here. Increases damage dealt by 10% and ice by 10%. And then increases her skill points by 2. If her HP, so that's another trigger where HP above 80% decreases damage dealt, gets dealt, and she gets insight as well. And when she has that, her attack range and skills and support attacks is 1 tile, so she can attack a lot farther. Same thing as Macchiato in that capacity. And then you can kind of see within her, with her ult here, she also has support attacks. Now, she's not as strong as Macchiato on her support attacks, but she can kind of do that as well. And then puts on some more buffs, some more debuffs on the enemies. But most of it is just all around reducing the enemy's ability to move and increasing your allies' attacks against them. And we can look at some of the buffs up here and kind of what they do. A lot of them we already know from what Suomi and Lada can put out there, like Frost, applying solidification. And like I said in other videos, these are the translated from CN terms, not the terms they're using in global, so they may be different in global. But this is the one where you can actually get ice weakness on the enemy so that you're able to actually do more damage through them being ice weak. And then you have like Chill, they cannot move, but they can still attack. Blizzard's Prayer. This is the one that inflicts solidification and they can take more damage. Blizzard's Domain, that's her action support. It's essentially just like Jeonju's. If there's an ally that attacks an enemy, she will do action support twice in a turn, and she can do that twice in a turn. And that is the main things with her. The big thing is, and kind of seen over here on the pros and cons, is that you're better off if Macchiato comes out first. They say it's better to just get V1 of her, so getting a dupe of Macchiato before you actually go for just Dushevnaya, because Macchiato gets a bigger damage increase from just having her first dupe versus what she can provide to her. So that's just something to kind of take note. You want to get, if you're going to go the ice side of things, I would try and get both the V1 of Macchiato and her. But if you're not going to have the polls for that, or you're free to play, you have some wiggle room in that. And the way I could see it is she's kind of the flex spot, like I've kind of mentioned on the other teams, where you have the unit that's a little bit less useful at this point, and you can be a little bit more flexible with. So if you got like V1 on Macchiato, you can kind of bring someone else into the group. So you would have Suomi, you would have Lada, and then you have Macchiato, or you can just do Suomi and Macchiato, because Suomi is going to buff, especially if like you have her weapon, the ice side of things, and then you can maybe do like a dual element. And one thing I kind of looked at is actually like ice fire dual element, doing something like with Zhangzhu, because you already have a lot of action support on the ice side of things. So if you bring Zhangzhu, who is the other really strong single target damage user, you should be able to do a lot of damage if you mix Macchiato with her, because they're just going to both be pinging attacks off. One goes first, then the other goes after. And so that's a way to do a lot of damage there, so you could flex her in, or anyone else that really has action support. And then you can always bring in someone like Lenna. I think she's going to be actually just an all-around good support to have for any of the element teams, even though she's electric. Great unit to have. And one thing I didn't really mention with her on the other ones, when I kind of say that she's an excellent support that could probably work with most, is she actually has a good combo, or a good common key that I think you can throw on just about any of your DPSs in the game on any of the elements. And her common key down here applies conductance on a target. So when the person who has this common key attacks, it'll apply conductance on the target for 1 turn. This can be activated up to twice per turn. So if you got Lenna, who could be a supporting team, but even if you didn't want to use her with your ice, you can get her common key here and put it on Macchiato. And what it basically does is this conductance, when they receive damage, they can be converted to paralyzed or paralysis. So basically, Macchiato can do her support action, attacks them with that common key. It puts conductance on them, and then the next attack could paralyze them. So you could get not only where they cannot move, but they cannot act with this paralyze. And so I think she could be a very useful unit to the team just for the common key, let alone bringing her into the team as well. And then you even have the nice combo of her weapon. If you ever wanted to pull over her weapon here, when applying conductance, you can actually get paralysis on this. So that common key on Lenna actually makes this SMG here fully activated. And so you can actually do paralyzing with the SMG as well on that kit. But that's kind of going into some meta level thinking there. But that is pretty much the ice team. There's only 4 of them currently at this point, but I think they're still flushing out a lot of the teams currently. So I suspect we'll probably get another unit sometime in the near future on the CN side of things that will go alongside them, like we see with the other teams, because they all seem to be kind of missing something. But they are a complete team in that they do have their sustain, they do have someone that amplifies their damage. You have a lot of the AoE, and Macchiato for the strong single target, but it sometimes can be a negative in the fact that you're either really going to be targeting a boss, so you're going to want a lot of single target, or you have a lot of ads you need to kill, so you're going to want the AoE. And sometimes you don't really need to min-max or mix those two. So we'll just kind of have to see what comes out next for them. But that pretty much covers the ice team. It's definitely one that I'm looking to go into just because we got Suomi right off the bat. And I think it's going to be a team that a lot of others are going to want to go into because the fact that we have Suomi right off the bat. Because when you actually look at all the units that are currently out, and I don't think all of them are on this list yet because they haven't brought out the new ones, we've only got the super sustain from Suomi. We have Senarusi, who's the fire sustain, and there is now a hydro sustain out in Springfield. But it is one of the more complete ones just because it does technically cover all their respective areas. They don't have really a tank, but Suomi basically covers the tanking needs with her massive shields. So you really don't need the tank. It's more about we just want to put on the shields, slow down the enemies, and do damage from a distance with them. And then you have a lot of them come in there if you need to clear a bunch of ads in one area up close. So it is the team that I will be pretty much putting a lot of investment in, especially since I got the first dupe of Suomi. I know a lot of people are doing that. And so I am hoping on the next one, when it comes to the next banner, if they're going to want to go with that route of, hey, we had Suomi, so we want to put somebody out, somebody that pairs well with her to try and get people to run out of pulls and have to spend money, I would bet that Macchiato would be the next one. And that would be the one I'd kind of hope for myself because I do want to pull on her next. But it would be a little bit harder for others. So we'll just kind of have to see there. But yeah, to kind of end it here, if you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.